everyone, and welcome to my channel, RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous, and I review old school modules and games and evaluate their adaptability and how you might use them for your current campaign. In this video, we're going to take a look back at the ruins of Undermountain. I'm not just going to focus on the original box set, but I will do my best to point out the best additions to the setting, up to and including the 4th edition supplement, The Halls of Undermountain. And that's a lot to cover, so let's get started, shall we? Undermountain was first introduced to Ed Greenwood's campaign as far back as 1974, and Waterdeep and Undermountain were the most developed parts of the Forgotten Realms when he was first contacted to use his world for TSR, and over the years has been greatly supported. But for those who may not be familiar with what Undermountain is, let me do a brief overview. As with anything of this type in the Forgotten Realms settings, it is frequently a lot of fun to consult Elminster and see what the old wizened sage has to say about it. And in regards to Undermountain, he has this to say. Undermountain. Ah, yes, a great place to have fun. The most famous battlefield in which to earn a reputation as a veteran adventurer, and the largest known mass grave in Faerun today. Clearly, with Elminster's cheery evaluation of the place, Undermountain is not to be taken lightly. A massive dungeon complex located beneath the city of Waterdeep in the Forgotten Realms setting, the place sprawls in all direction, a confusing maze of halls and rooms. It has 9 known major levels and 15 known sub-levels. It is well known throughout the realms as a storehouse of treasure and the most horrid of beasties the realms has to offer. Within the city of Waterdeep, there are many known ways in and out of the place, the most famous of which is the Yawning Portal Inn. The proprietor is a retired adventurer himself, Durnan the Wanderer, the most prominent feature of the tavern being a gaping well that descends 140 feet down into the first level of Undermountain. Prospective adventuring parties are lowered into the place via a platform and a winch and pulley system, usually by Durnan himself, for the cost of a single gold piece, as is the price of return. Patrons of the place gather to cheer on the brave souls willing to challenge the depths of the sinister halls, frequently taking wagers as to how long before the adventurers are begging to return to the surface, or even if they will return at all. Much of the dungeon below Waterdeep streets actually started as the dwelling place in mind of the ancient Malarican dwarven clan that formed an alliance with the elves of Ilfarn. Eventually, however, the dwarves were driven out by drow, drugar, criminals, and worse. Then, about 1,000 years ago, the wizard Halaster Blackcloak built his tower at the base of Mount Waterdeep, along with his apprentices known as the Seven, and fell creatures that Halaster would summon, began the process of clearing out and excavating the complex below the mountain. Halaster began a warring crusade against the drow and the drugar that now occupied the former home of the dwarves, and after a time forced, possessed, and trapped the souls of the dark elves for his own purposes. Once full control was established, his obsession continued as he dug deeper and deeper into the place. In time, the 7 apprentices were reduced to 5, and their delves into their master's excavated halls made them wealthy in both coin and knowledge, and, like their master, ultimately disappeared into the depths of Undermountain. The tower above fell into disrepair, and finally ruins. Time passed, and the city of Waterdeep sprung up at the base of the mountain, and an adventurer named Durnan came along to explore the depths of Halaster's ruined tower. Eventually, Durnan cleared away the last remnants and built upon it the tavern known as the Yawning Portal. He, along with his family, works there to this day, serving patrons and inviting the brave, or the foolish, to try their hands at the Halls of Undermountain. Clearly by the description in the map of just the first level, it is clear that this is a dungeon complex of epic proportions. The first product to describe Hallowed Halls was the Ruins of Undermountain box set. First released in 1991, the set consists of a 128-page booklet titled Campaign Guide to Undermountain, a 32-page booklet titled Undermountain Adventures, 8 double-sided loose-leaf monster statistic pages, 8 double-sided heavy stock adventure aid cards, and 4 color fold-out poster maps. The first box set covers the first 3 levels of the dungeon, with level 3 taking up 2 poster-sized maps. Not all the rooms of the place are detailed, but the bulk of the campaign guide is dedicated to detailing the core rooms of the first 3 levels. At the time, there was some annoyance in that large swaths of the map are left blank, and some felt the product was incomplete. For my part, however, I loved it. Given the nature of the place, the campaign guide does an excellent job of setting the tone, and the rest is left for a creative DM to add his or her own touch to the Hallowed Halls and make Undermountain their own. The first level is known as the Dungeon Level, and is even used by the Lords of Waterdeep to dump criminals and undesirables as punishment. Many of the rooms are iconic and well known to the city above, but much of it is in constant flux. The second level is known as the Storeroom Level. Halaster and his apprentices excavated the rough stone caverns and mining tunnels left by the dwarves to house their acquisitions and magical experiments. Notable features of the storeroom level include the Doom Gate, the Helm Watch, and Lord Hun Hillgauntlet's tomb. The third level is known as the Sargoth level, for the River Sargoth, which runs through the massive level. Undermountain's third level consists of 2 major sections. The southern third of the level consists of the remnants of the Sargoth Enclave, now split by a massive cave-in leading to Skullport, the Port of Shadow, and the Promenade of the Dark Maiden. The northern 2/3 of this level were constructed by Halaster and his apprentices, and served much the same role as Undermountain's second level. The most notable feature of this level are the Lair of the Eye, the rubble-filled pit of Gunadar, a mile-deep shaft that leads from the prime material plane into the cauldron of slime through an intermittently existent planar breach. 2 years later, in 1994, TSR released the sequel, Ruins of Undermountain 2, The Deep Levels. This set details 3 of Undermountain's sub-levels, the Willow Wood level, Muriel's Gauntlet, and Trobriand's Graveyard. Similar in scope as the first set, included a 128-page campaign guide, a 32-page adventure guide, 4 poster maps detailing the sub-levels, more cardstock sheets detailing the traps, 16 pages of monstrous compendium sheets detailing the new monsters. These sub-levels are dedicated to 3 of Halaster's apprentices. Willowwood was created by an apprentice of Halaster Blackcloak over a century ago for his beloved, an elven druid named Willow. Set in a cavernous region carved by a tributary of the river Sargoth, this level is dominated by the Willow Wood, a thriving forest nourished by sunlight filtered through a massive portal in the sky above. Other notable features include a temple of the Destroyer and a long-abandoned lakeside village built by the stout folk of Clan Malarican. Muriel's Gauntlet is a sub-level built by the Drow soon after their initial invasion that included living quarters and a warrior academy. Halaster's apprentice Muriel transformed these chambers into a trap-filled gauntlet haunted by giant spiders, undead, and driders. Although the monstrous mage has abandoned this area, his deadly creations remain. Finally, there is Trobriand's Graveyard. The stout folk originally mined this sublevel for mithril, leaving it by chance or for mysterious reasons, in the Crusade of a Scorpion. Before Halaster's high harvest tide, the realm of the Metal Masters was home to Trobriand's rejected constructs, built before he perfected his Scalders. By Halaster's high harvest tide, Trobriand's cast-offs had organized themselves into a self-governing community for mutual defense, and they took advantage of the chaos to escape through a portal to their master's secret sanctum and claimed it for themselves. In the wake of their departure, this level was largely abandoned, but it didn't remain that way for long. After being driven from Undermountain by the Eye, Miskar the Pirate Tyrant fled to this level and made it his own. Now a portal links the Beholder's Lair to the Izimmer Villa, and House Izimmer has begun storing its ill-gotten gains herein. After the 2 box sets, TSR returned to Undermountain in 1996 with its Dungeon Crawl series. The first of these was the Lost Level, which detailed another Undermountain sublevel. Entombed in solid rock, the Lost Level is almost inaccessible, and its primary egress is said to be a portal guarded by the Ring of Death. Awaiting Ring of Deathkiss Beholderkin, Death Tyrant Beholderkin, and the Beholderkin Lord Negus. The Lost Level is divided into 3 sections: a Temple of Dumathoin and Crypt for Clan Malarican's rulers, a drow prison now dominated by Hunt Mistress Dusara, and a massive cavern carved by a branch of the River Sargoth and now split by an earthquake-caused tremor. Of all the Dungeon Crawl series modules, this one is definitely my favorite, and it captures the feel of the original box set, with many core rooms detailed, but much left blank. This module also has a hidden plot, many creative traps, and deadly monsters, and I highly recommend it. Again, in 1996, TSR released the second of its Dungeon Crawl series, Madgoth's Castle. Another sublevel, Madgoth's Level, is famed for the presence of Madgoth's Castle. Built by Halaster, this miniature floating castle is enveloped in a reduction field that reduces all creatures within it to 1/12 their normal size. The second to last official TSR product to explore Undermountain was released in 1997. The third in the Dungeon Crawl series, this module actually adds a plot to save the Mad Mage Halaster Blackcloak. This module adds in a bit of fantasy space and a Spelljammer tie-in. While the Crystal Maze had been mentioned previously, the module firmly places it in one of the tiers of Saloon. As a bit of historical note, this was the last product published by the old TSR before financial problems caused them to cease publication. Production wouldn't resume until purchased by Wizards of the Coast later that year. In 1999, Wizards of the Coast, still under the TSR banner, released the 96-page Skullport Supplement. First mentioned in the original Ruins of Undermountain box set, a small section of the Sargoth level poster map, the Port of Shadow was given some expanded detail in Dragon Magazine 172 article, Seeing the Sights of Skullport, in August of 1991. For those not familiar with this mini-city, the product description is as follows. Skullport, the Port of Shadow, is perhaps the best-kept secret in all of the Sword Coast. A mile and a half beneath the orderly streets of Waterdeep squats the most wretched and lawless pit of thieves, buccaneers, slavers, and sellswords the realms has to offer. Under a moldering tangle of catwalks threaded between the stalactites and stalagmites of the cavern city, Illithids, Drow, Beholder, and others plot and trade with emissaries from the surface. Monsters prowl the dark recesses and alleyways. Gangs of zombies shamble about performing menial labor. Here, anything and everything can be bought and sold. Lethal poisons, foul tomes of forbidden magic, and slaves. The only law is meted out by the enigmatic skulls of Skullport, mysterious floating humanoid skulls whose capricious judgment and madness-induced destructiveness are the stuff of grisly travelers' tales. Gold rules the ever-present twilight, and only those with keen eyes and blades may keep it long. Wizards of the Coast has revisited Undermountain twice with notable products that reworked quite a few of the core rooms on level 1, as well as adding to the mythos. In addition, there is the Return to Undermountain web series, which detailed many of the empty rooms, and as of the release of this video, is still up and available on their website. I've included a link to the starter page for that series in the description, and it is definitely worth checking out. In 2007, fully 16 years after Undermountain's introduction by TSR, Wizards of the Coast released the very excellent Expedition to Undermountain, a hardbound matte finish 220-page module, the book does an excellent job of reintroducing the deepest dungeon of them all. The first part of the book is dedicated to detailing Undermountain and its many levels for those readers not familiar with the material, though the bulk of the book is dedicated to only Undermountain's first level. This is also a campaign adventure book and will take many game sessions to work through the plot of the module, if you so desire to play it out. However, for me personally, I'm not a fan of it. The core plot is the death of Halaster and the onset of the spell plague in the Forgotten Realms. This was a transitional product for the Forgotten Realms as Wizards of the Coast moved from 3.5 to 4th edition. The most egregious offense the book commits, in my opinion, is the killing of Halaster Blackcloak. As a longtime DM of Undermountain, I really hated this, and the reason is simple. Halaster is more than just an NPC that created Undermountain. He is a major DM surrogate character. Halaster resets the traps. He imports more monsters into the dungeon. And when appropriate, the Mad Mage can directly intervene in things the PCs are doing, either for good or ill. He is the core MacGuffin in Undermountain. Not only did Wizards of the Coast kill him off, nothing was offered to refill that role. In my opinion, Expedition to Undermountain is best used for the many excellent room descriptions provided, and the plot, such that it is, can simply be ignored. In 2012, Wizards of the Coast released Halls of Undermountain, final official 4th edition module release. This 96-page hardbound book once more details several rooms on the first level of Undermountain. While I am not a fan of 4th edition, I can definitely recommend that you pick this one up for several very good reasons. There are 2 double-sided poster maps included with it that detail several of the encounter areas, a nice full-size poster of level 1, and most importantly, at least for me, is the very cool encounter map of the Yawning Portal Inn. Amazingly, in all these years, the Yawning Portal had never really been detailed in map form. While in both the City System box set and the original Ruins of Undermountain, a small floor plan was provided, it was of the most generic of type and clearly not actually the legendary inn. Because, well, where's its most prominent feature, the entry well? Another great thing about this book is that it is pretty much devoid of monster statistics, referring the reader to the monster manual, though some unique creatures are detailed in the back, which means you can use it with whatever edition of the game you would like. And while there are 3 plot-driven encounters included, the book also details and updates a total of 79 areas on level 1. Lastly, for the sake of completeness, I'd like to mention, but not really recommend, Undermountain Halaster's Lost Apprentice. Introduced as the first of Wizards' Encounter series, the product barely touches Undermountain itself, but does detail some of the changes to the setting since the Spell Plague and the death of Halaster. Added to the mythology of the first level of Undermountain is Dawnshadow, a community peopled by down-on-their-luck adventurers, criminal, and folk scarred by magic. Overall, this is an Encounter series module and does little to detail Undermountain itself. The other source for details of changes to Waterdeep and Undermountain is the 4th edition supplement, the Forgotten Realms Campaign Guide, which I'll try to summarize the changes now. So, let's go. There are 2 additional wards that have been set up. Field Ward in the north between the 2 city walls and the Mist Shore, which used to be the old naval docks. The Waterdeep Navy is scuttled. The Griffin Rider forces are gone. Skullport was taken over by the Drow. A large underground city for gnomes and halflings has grown called the Warrens. The guilds were responsible for some killings of the open lords of Waterdeep, so they are not trusted anymore. The nobles have been greatly reduced and are much less powerful a force than they once were. Mountainside is a newer, more wealthy area being built up the side of Mount Waterdeep. Undercliff is a slum, lower-class shantytown that is growing outside the city walls. The City Watch and the City Guard are now one force. During the Spell Plague, many of the statues of Waterdeep became animated and crashed throughout the city, movie monster style. Some still lay where they fell. Glowing orbs of light are commonly seen around the city. They are a mystery and attracted to magic and seem to become attached to certain people as they travel around. Detection and location magic does not work in the city. Halaster, the evil mage of Undermountain, is dead, and his tunnels are wilder than ever. The uppermost levels of Undermountain are now known as Dawn Shadow, a neighborhood of sorts for people dealing in shady acts and illicit goods. So as you can see, the tenor and nature of the city in Undermountain is substantially changed and vastly alters much of the previously printed information, and as far as I can tell, for little benefit. These changes wrought primarily by Wizards of the Coast's failed 4th edition of the game, and hardly given by story necessity. Quite honestly, my personal preference and feeling is to simply ignore them in favor of a more cohesive campaign, the death of Halaster being one of the more egregious issues with the changes. The removal of the DM surrogate character is obnoxious at best, and in my opinion hurts rather than helps the setting. As a DM that literally spent a decade running a Waterdeep campaign, I may have an emotional attachment to the setting. I don't think that's the reason for my ire at the changes made. They just don't seem like an organic progression from what's come before, but instead are made to alter the product to a new edition of the game and to downplay Waterdeep as the most prominent city in the realms in favor of Baldur's Gate, which has more name recognition due to the success of a series of video games. In the timeline, Baldur's Gate was untouched by the spell plague, and due to an influx of refugees tripled its size and displaced Waterdeep as the most prominent city in the realms. I'd also like to briefly mention that in 2013, Wizards of the Coast released the Lords of Waterdeep board game and its supplement, Scoundrels of Skullport, in 2014. I've not played this game, but by the many reviews I've read, it seems like a fun game, though it doesn't add anything to the setting itself. So far, the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons has seen no additional information as of the release of this video. My personal feeling is that the bulk of the best information on Waterdeep and Undermountain came during the 2nd edition of the game, and as such, if you wish to run a campaign there, those are the best sources of information. If you pepper in the information from the web series, Expedition to Undermountain, and the Halls of Undermountain, you have enough source material to run a comprehensive and fun campaign that could last for many years. All of the supplements I mentioned are available at Drive-Thru RPG as inexpensive PDF downloads, though getting the originals in print form is getting to be a rather costly endeavor. The original box sets can go for $50 or more, and even the Skullport Supplement runs around $30 to $50. However you choose to go about it, running these adventures will provide you and your players with many heroic tales of adventures and legendary, and certainly will be a lot of fun. Well, that about wraps up this rather lengthy review, and I hope you found it interesting and informative. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this one. In addition, I'm going to expand my how-to series of videos to include some crafting in regards to the Hearst Arts pieces. On the retro review side, I've got the Masks of Nyarlathotep Hotep to do, as well as a look at the 5th edition of the game. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true, and game on.